Okay, so we talk today about trust measures in experimental settings, which is probably known by some of you, but I hope I will give you some new ideas and new insights into the stuff which we have done with our colleagues. Something we have data was collected in 2020-2021. We're still processing still continuing the analysis of this data, which is quite large, in fact, and I'm going to spend a bit more time and maybe focus a little bit more on the experimental details of what we have done, because but before I move to that, let me start with very simple things. Okay. So when we speak about trust and principle, what is trust? In God we trust. Okay. So why? So what do we do? What do we do in God?
Когда можно не проверять?
We hope for some.
Okay, yeah.
We already have some expectation.
Okay, yeah.
Concerning the other.
Yeah. So trust is there related to expectations, or actually to beliefs, or if you want to think about psychology, to feelings towards other person. Actually, we develop our trust feelings first when a child trusts to its mother, right? A baby, a newborn baby has to trust the mother, right? Because otherwise the newborn baby is going to die. As simple as that. Right? So that's a vital question. But when life goes on, of course, we have to develop somehow this feeling of trust, this expectation that we can rely on another person, and another person will not betray us. So a conventional way to measure this thing is the so-called Rosenberg version of the world value survey question, for instance. All right, when so we have one definition that here that a person's belief that another person or institution will act consistently with their expectations of positive behavior. That's a definition which is given by OECD, and it leads to one particular measure of trust, which is more reliable in a sense than the conventional one which I mentioned already, than the conventional measure of what the Sartre and Rosenberg question, which states as follows: do you think that most people can be trusted, or you can't be too cautious when dealing with people? It's either or, you can trust or you can't be too cautious. Basically, it's a kind of controversy which we seem to face when we speak about trust. Mean global value of trust over 77 countries in the last wave of World Value Survey, over 125,000 people, representative across 77 countries, shows that the mean global value of trust is 27%. So 27% of people, of these 125,000 people, say yes, you can trust most people, and the remaining proportion, the remaining 73% say no, you can't be too cautious when dealing with people. Globally, this is very widely spread. Right?
Due to backward induction, right?
Backward induction.
No, you can be
okay,
cautious.
you can So, global picture which looks like this, why trust is important to economics, basically shows that yes, if you contrast trust, answers to this question, yes, we can trust people on one axis, and GDP per capita. 2014, but it does not, it didn't change much, frankly speaking, yeah, we have a clear positive relationship, right? So larger trust is associated with higher GDP per capita. more you trust, the more the richer you are. It can have, of course, some meaning because yes, you may say that trust decreases transaction costs, improves business activities, so that's beneficial.
Or other ways around.
Or other way around. Of course, rich countries they are better off. The people there are more compliant to the rules. They steal less to each other. They mislead each other less
Their
frequently.
mistakes don't lead to the real suffering.
Yeah, and yes, and you might say that of course basically little inefficiency doesn't make you doesn't bring you to the verge of death from hunger or whatever else. So you can rely on society that basically you will not be let down, like if something will happen to you. Have a question?
Yes. Can you say that one of the possible ways to explain this correlation is that we have relational contracts that are spread where countries have very high level of trust, and this accelerates the GDP growth?
Yes, that's of course one way to explain the first order relationship from trust to GDP, right?
Okay.
So you can think of that. But basically, what one way or another, of course, there is heterogeneity here, that's clear. But one way or another, there is a positive relationship, right? Of course, the variance is rather large, but still, the richer countries like Saudi Arabia, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Sweden, Finland, New Zealand, Australia, US, somewhere here.
But it also might be, if we really suspect endogeneity, then probably our estimation is biased. And then you cannot predict how big bias, as soon as you don't know the mechanism which...
Well, yes, exactly.
Or you know too many mechanisms.
Exactly. You cannot predict. You can, statistically, you can predict. Looking at this plot, you can predict the level of GDP by level of trust. Right?
But you cannot predict the level of bias.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that this is necessarily causal relationship. Right? We cannot say that.
Again, it's not only causal, the direction of the effect. It's also about the size and the sign of the effect.
Well, I mean,
if you have really, very bad, very huge bias, I mean, if you don't understand correctly the mechanisms, or some mechanisms overload others, then probably your estimation completely wrong.
It can be completely wrong in the sense that if you look at this scatter plot, right, there is correlation,
yes.
Positive correlation. You can claim that, right? You can claim that. But if you want to explain a causal relationship, what causes high GDP, right? Of course, you need to control for things more than trust. If some of them are exogenous, hopefully, or you have a proper instrument or whatever else, then you can say, okay, that this coefficient estimate of this binary regression, the coefficient of trust on GDP can become very different, and it can be biased or whatever else. Other things can explain this. Yes, this simple plot doesn't show you the mechanism. It doesn't show you. That doesn't show you the causal relationship. It shows that there is an empirical fact, larger trust is correlated with larger GDP, larger wealth. That's all you can claim, right? Of course, there are other papers. Some of them are cited here, which explore this connection in a variety of contexts. But I'm not going to spend more time on that. Sorry, I have no time. But the important thing is that besides pure correlation, there are a lot of variances, and a lot of bodies are buried under this definition, sometimes they say. And for instance, one of these bodies is that we can say that this canonical version of the question actually leads to rather low levels of trust, corresponding to, for instance, OECD version, which says like this: on a scale from 0 to 10, when 0 is not at all and 10 is completely, in general, how much do you trust most people? You may see the difference between this question and the Volcker-Sire formulation, right? What's the difference? How different they are? Well, this difference is that in this question you have an explicit contrast to be or not to be, right? To trust or not to trust. That's explicit there, right? Here it is implicit. Right? Show me how much do you trust. Go left to right, how far right do you go in your trust relation.
I have a stupid question.
Yeah.
Again, a slide ago we just saw more or less current situation, but I wonder if we have kind of attempts to get to get some historical view on the connection between trust and prosperity.
Okay.
Because again, I'm thinking about how to what extent the coefficient is correct. Yeah, how robust.
Okay, well, globally.
So probably in the Roman Empire, the GDP per capita was high in Roman Empire or in Indian, whatever. But
well, globally speaking, over the measurement of what the survey, this correlation is quite robust. Globally speaking, right? Measures goes back to 1970s. From that time, this measure is kind of precise.
That is again current situation.
More or less current,
global
yes.
world.
But if you want, I can think of some countries which can be kind of viewed as natural experiments on that of trust. I'm not sure if there is countries like Israel or Estonia here. They should be somewhere. Here. So actually, in Israel, Israel to the right. Where is it?
Правее выше.
Oh, here. Yeah.
И Lithuania.
You see in Israel, Lithuania. So you see, basically in Israel, the level of trust here is about 23%, which is lower than in Russia, by the way. Right? In Estonia, it was sometimes it was even lower. It was about, I think, somewhere something like 11%. Right? So it's rather low. All the countries are relatively rich. The question is why. So, and the answer is quite simple, that the countries are heterogeneous in terms of population. If you think of Roman Empire also had a lot of citizens, and
conditional on population or heterogeneity or size, whatever.
Yeah. So if you can continue.
And correlate them.
If you can think of these examples, then the reason why trust is not so high as you might expect is probably because yes, there are some dangers or some mistrust of ethnic groups which are not yours.
You don't consider yours.
Your real compatriots, right? Like Palestinians in Israel, like Russian population in Estonia, rather large, right? Also, so these things do affect trust, of course. And if they go at all, there is Israel is below the So, what's more important is that when you ask this question without contrasts, right, then the level of trust becomes larger. Estimate of trust. For instance, this is a study from some colleagues done back in 2018. France, Italy, Sweden, South Korea, US, and Germany. And we see he has done it in all countries, but the blue ones are OECD version of the trust question. The gray ones are Rosenberg, World Survey versions. So you see, and the World Survey versions of trust measures are systematically lower than the OECD version. Systematically lower. And the reason why, you can speculate about that, but probably the reason why, the main one, is because when you ask people, think about possibly bad consequences of trust. You can't be too cautious when dealing with people. Think about that. And again, this statement comes last in the question. As Stiglitz used to say, the last sentence is best remembered, right? People remember this. People frame the question, so people remember that, and that brings their state of trust level down. When you don't make it explicit, people think, okay, how far would I go right on my trust scale? Probably not probably rather far. What's more important, of course, when you think about the general question, which is not explicit here, but important in principle, think about yourself. How much do you trust people? If I ask it this way. What comes to your mind?
maybe my very closest people for me, like
Who are these people? Who are these people?
Chinese.
Whom would you trust? Chinese, Americans, your family, strangers, members of your
I
parish.
think it depends on what kind of trust you are talking about.
Exactly. In this question, you can think about any trust to anyone. There's no specification, right? Whom should you think about when you are asked about general trust? You think about whoever comes to your mind. Right? Trust to whoever comes to your mind. Whom that could be? Huh? Friends and families. Okay. What about what about
Classmates.
what mass media? Right? What about politicians? What about your classmates or group mates? What about your neighbors? Some of whom may be very nasty people. How much do you trust them? So you can think about whatever, right? Whatever. And this question doesn't control for what exactly you are thinking about. And actually, this is the reason why when you are actually measure trust behaviorally, and then come to exactly this thing, right? You find that these levels are rather similar to OECD question than the World Trade Survey question. Right? It's rather large, right? And behavioral trust, right, is a very precise thing. Usually it's measured by something like trust gain. And I'm coming to this, and I'm skipping some of these things. By the way, this graph also part of this question about robustness of trust measures. This is trust across Russian regions, and trust that is shown to decrease in crisis times and rise or up in non-crisis times. This is trust measures in Russian regions. This is 2009 after the crisis, and the mean trust here is something like 18% by regions. When you go to 2014, trust was up to 30%. And again, this jigsaw, like bars, it's very difficult to make sense of. They are so yes, we know something about these measures, but we know that they are not robust across times in the sense that in crisis times trust typically.
I have another stupid question. What about the relation between two of them?
Not clean, no, probably not very high. You can check it, but it's not very high.
So it suggests a lot of noise.
Yes, a lot of
noise.
Yes, a lot of noise. Yes, exactly. If you compare them bar to bar, you'll see that some of the bars were down in one measure or up in another. Yeah. So basically, what we are doing, we are measuring behavioral trust using a version of this trust game. Right? Trust game is a very well-known thing. Right? Hopefully, you all know what the trust game is all about. So you have to suggest two players. One of them says either trust or no trust to the other, and the other one either honors trust and then they receive larger income both, or cheats and then they receive nothing. It's a bit different version of this game.
But why do you consider it cheats?
Specifically this one. It's a label, of course, right? So but if you want a motivating story for this game, it can be done in this way. Suppose player 1 is an investor, right? He has a resource of 10, he can invest in an enterprise of another player, player 2. Player 1 invests, player 2 gets the investment, and then can has the resource to multiply this 10 by a factor of 3. So if player 1 passes 10 to player 2 gets 30. So the entrepreneur has a mean to multiply money. And then the money multiplied, the entrepreneur can divide it in whatever way he or she likes. He might say, he might say, okay, sorry guy, you gave me the money, I know, but you know my business was ruined, I didn't succeed, so I can give back to you zero, nothing. Or I can say, okay, you know, you've been so generous to me, thank you very much, I'll give you back all that I have earned, I have give you back 30. Or you may say, okay, let's, I was successful, let's divide it 50-50, so 15 to you, 15 to me, that's fine. Right? Or whatever else. We do it in scale in the steps of increments of 3. So basically, it is an increment from 30. Use 11 possible decisions here. Right? Yeah.
I think that your story, your explanation works out only if there is pre-game communication and all this. Oh, yes, I give you money in order to increase my, like in principal agent models. Yeah, like.
Okay.
But if there is no communication before, and by definition it shouldn't be so, why you consider second one as a cheaper?
Well, because this basically it relies, of course, on some assumption that social interaction and social expectations in equilibrium should somehow match each other. And once you go to trust someone else, and someone else tells you, basically you anticipate that someone else is expecting you. If you are at player 1 and someone else is player 2, and you give money to player 2, you expect that player 2 is hopefully will give you back something at least, rather than grab everything for him or herself, right? And you expect that player 2 will think that he owes you something back because you gave them the resource to raise the money. So this kind of implicit beliefs about beliefs of each other, which come to play here. If you want to speak about theoretical terms, in terms of behavioral theory, right? Then player 1 expects player 2 to be guilt averse. Right? So player 2 will feel guilty of betraying your trust.
Even there is no commitment.
No commitment.
If there is
yes,
no communication.
No communication. Whatever. This is social construct, right? We have been told that you should be basically reciprocal. You should be fair to each other, and as a result, player 2 will feel guilty if he will not give you back something.
May I give you?
Yes. So you just finish that. And player 1 is gonna hope on the other hand on reciprocation, right? So if I was kind to you, I expect you to be kind back to me. I could give you nothing, but I gave you something. Therefore, it's an action of commitment on my side, and I expect you to reciprocate. Yeah.
May I make some statement? It should be kind of very you can observe high difference in different societies. Say, when I talk to my colleagues, my friends from who works now in US, say, etc., and we discuss different, sometimes in politics, something. It's always about, was it an official agreement, lawyers kind of agreement or not? If there is no agreement, I mean, kind of paper or kind of, so you are not cheater and you are not betray if you don't hold it.
Okay, yeah.
But if there is agreement, no matter how it's crazy, you should follow this agreement.
Okay.
Even it hurts you, even whatever. And it concerning all, from marriage to to international politics.
Okay, well, that's a question of, in a sense, if you want to compare this, you can compare Americans to, for instance, Chinese guys. And sometimes there's also psychology make a distinction between the culture of guilt and culture of shame. Right? So if you, in American Western societies, right, you are not guilty unless proven by the court. Right? So if you are guilty, then basically you go to jail. And, I mean, okay, give you one example, okay, Harry Weinstein can be whatever nasty you want him to, you want to treat him towards other people, right? But he was a well-respected and well done member of the society before the court said, okay, you are a criminal. Before that, you are, no matter how bad you are, how many people you hurt, how many people you harass or whatever else, you are okay until the court said you are not. In Eastern societies, it's a culture of shame, basically. If you think about Japanese samurai or whatever else, you know that you've done a bad thing. And that immediately leads you to make a harakiri. If you are convinced you are guilty, you commit a suicide. You don't need a court to order you to do that. You do it because it's your preference like that. You prefer to die rather than live with this feeling of shame. And that makes some difference, right? Makes a difference. So different societies have different things about that, but in this tradition, conventional tradition at least, in economics, which is basically, okay, born in the Western tradition at least, right? They think that on one hand, of course, the natural equilibrium in this game, of course, is to do what? Is to be cynical, be nasty, and you know what the natural equilibrium is here, right? It is clearly 15-15, okay? Okay? Yes or no?
No.
0%.
No.
No, задача equilibrium, no trust.
No trust. The unique subject perfect natural equilibrium. Here, wake up, please, guys, wake up, please. Of course it's here. That's it. Why? Because if you give a move to another player is gonna cheat, right?
Because the best response of
First 0, right? And getting 10 is better than getting 0. That's all pretty. Guys, attention please. Don't say yes to whatever rubbish you are giving. You are talking.
Social norm.
Don't trust.
Don't trust.
Don't trust. What's this here? But this is very different from what we actually observed. What we actually observed is something in that range. So many people trust, and trust is sometimes reciprocated. Not all, but sometimes. And we see exactly this in our game, which I'm going to gradually move on to. And in our game, which is an online game, trust game in the regions of Russia. So we run exactly this story. We describe it in these things, and our subjects, online crowdsourcing subjects, have seen exactly this. So there are two players, 1, 2. Both have an endowment of 10. Player 1 can keep all 10 here, or can pass them to player 2, in which case they're going to multiply by 3 and the player 2 is going to get 7. Now it's player 2 who decides how much of this notice he will get back to player 1. Very simple. Like that. Now, how do we do that? That's a tricky thing. Some people don't like it, some people do. We use this technique, which is called the technique of strategy method. So we want to study trust across Russian regions. So we don't tell them which region is their partner from. Yeah? We tell them it can be anywhere here, anywhere in the country. You are player 1, and your player 2 can be somewhere else. Somewhere else. We don't explain them where exactly they are at the moment, they can be wrong, but imagine you are playing with someone from region, from this region, or that region, or that region, or that region, or that region. Would you trust that person or not? This guy is, I don't know, somewhere in Tomsk, probably. This is somewhere in Blagovichin, somewhere in Irkutsk, somewhere in, I don't know, Bratsk, whatever, this is probably Chita, probably Abakana, whatever else.
Ну нет, это не
Это примерная карта. Тут нет точных названий. And we don't give precise. The same thing applies to another guy. And we don't give them precise names. You see, it's like here. Let's hold on this one. If player B, with whom you interact in pair, will be from city X, would you transfer your original 10 tokens to this person or not? That's behavior. Right? It's decision. Yes or no? Yes or no? You click on one button. And you do this mental exercise to all 12 cities, including Europe. One of them is your own. Other 11 cities somewhere in Russia.
So we have a questionnaire, like, would you trust somebody who is from some region?
I'm not asking them would you trust. I ask them something much more precise. You have $1.
Okay.
Will you give this dollar to someone from city X, or from city Y, or from city Z? Looking around across the 12 cities. So basically you make these 12 decisions and one of them is going to be played for Rio.
We can see bias here because we show the whole list for them at once, and they suspect that if you have if you should choose somebody, you maybe sometimes still will say no, I don't trust him. So for some cities they still will say that they
Good
don't
question,
trust.
good point. If I interpret your point correctly, you may say that if you don't trust to some of these cities, it may spill over your trust to other cities,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
For instance, you saw eventually city you don't trust, for instance, suppose there is someone from the Caucasus, from Makhachkala, Dagestan, for instance. You don't trust these guys. You don't trust them. And then you see other list of cities, but you have already mistrusted to Makhachkala, and therefore you think, okay, it basically gives an impression that you shouldn't trust people from that list, and you show less trust to something more neutral, like Novosibirsk or Yekaterinburg, right?
Yes.
And you don't trust them either. Yeah, that's a good point. This is possible thing. Fortunately, we don't find evidence of this behavior in the data. We don't find this evidence. But in principle, you are right, it is possible. You can contaminate your trust to one place in a positive and negative direction, in both directions. Yes. You can, if you see something very trustworthy, you trust it 1, 2, 3, 4, then it becomes 65. You wouldn't trust had it been first, but it is fifth, and therefore you have already developed some feeling of trust, and you extend it to this city. Possible.
But the treatment would be that
Yeah.
one say round you would have one number of cities, and say if you increase, if the probability to meet such person decreases, then probably doesn't matter. So you have two samples, one small one, and
No,
you
look, something you are told you can meet with anyone from this city
I mean,
at random. What do you say? At random. Again,
I'm saying that if you have 1/10 of probability of meet, it's one, yes,
Yeah.
and say if you one from 100 chances.
Yeah, okay. So how likely you are to meet
Yes,
them?
then maybe you behave
As you see,
differently.
it's not explicit here, right? But basically, and in fact, yes, it is not quite neutral. Maybe this comes to our discussion in the first day. Remember about this independence,
Yes,
or
assumption about
or
independence.
So we assume here that your probability of meeting person from any of these cities is equal. You may meet people from here, equally likely to meet any of these. In fact, this is not necessarily the case. You may be more likely to meet people from larger cities than from small cities. That's true. And in fact, this is the case in our data. But again, we don't have a chance to control for that, unfortunately. So we assume the probability of people here is uniform. But the questions are both good questions. I agree. Same thing applies to player B, which is more tricky, of course, because player B has to be given a move only if he is trusted, right? Or she is trusted. So the way you bypass this is, as we say, imagine suppose player A with whom you interact is from this city, and this person gave 10 tokens to you. How much would you return to this player A from city X, Y, Z, blah, 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 in this case, out of 30 tokens? And you click one of 11 possible options.
So I think that the design of the experiment is not good, I can say why. So maybe we should not have questionnaire. I think that the person from different cities should should have real relationship, like So I can be too polite and I can say that I will trust all of them, but in reality I would not trust somebody from another city. And so maybe it would be better if somebody will say, so you can give $1 to the man from this certain city, he's real, but you don't see him because he can be biased by the how person looks. So can you give him a dollar? They negotiate each other in real. I think it would be.
I think it's the point about real preferences.
В общем, я сказал, что мне кажется, что
Спасибо тебе большое.
мне кажется, что человек может быть слишком политкорректным, вот, и сказать, что я всем доверяю, на деле нет. Вот. И будет лучше, если какое-то реальное взаимодействие было такое. Я не знаю, как человек выглядит, но тебе рассказали. Вот человек с Томска получит, можешь ему дать доллар. Вот.
Окей. Это вопрос из серии, он универсальный абсолютно, мы не вообще доверяем, что кто есть какой-то реальный партнер или нельзя. Идея очень простая на самом деле. Да? Почему нам нужен такой дизайн, какой-то другой? Да? Потому что мы меряем доверие в очень абстрактной постановке. Да? Или просто, по сути, человек людям из города N. Да? Есть некоторый город. Да? Кто-то из этого города может получить от тебя доллар, а могут не получить ничего. Кто из этого города сможет вернуть тебе что-то, если ты дашь ему доллар, а может не вернуть тебе ничего. Вот ты готов рискнуть долларом во взаимодействии с не пойми кем из города N.
Он вообще говорит о внешней валидности, наверное, общий результат такого...
Еще раз. Если мы пойдем в реальный город N и будем стоять на улице и раздавать там всем доллар, да, у нас, естественно, возможно разные истории. Может быть, я хорошо улыбаюсь, люди в город N любят хорошие улыбки, да, и они будут мне доверять много из-за этого. Да. Может быть, они видят, что у меня лицо не той национальности, да, какое они хотят видеть, да, они мне доверять не станут из-за этого. Да. Понимаете, все может быть.
Средние эффекты или реальные?
Меня интересует нейтральная история.
В жизни нейтральных историй не бывает. Всегда мы взаимодействуем с кем-то.
В жизни мы всегда взаимодействуем с кем-то, но, по крайней мере, вся экономика, она про то, как мы в среднем ведем себя в экономическом взаимодействии с другими агентами. У нас нет экономической теории, как мы, как мы...
А как heterogeneous agents сейчас распределение?
У нас нет теории про то, как мы... Базовая теория Economics 101 doesn't tell me that farmers who are black, right, should be more, basically begin a prime or farmers who are yellow.
But can say even macro, we now make, we want to make DCG model as heterogeneous as possible, not just two types of agents, but say continuum of agents, and so on and so forth.
In theory, we want to do whatever you want, right? When
I mean, to policy making.
Run whatever you like, right?
To policy making, not to just theory develop.
Policy making, okay, but prove me that the DCG model is really modeling the agents in a way that is relevant to policy making.
I think there. In terms of propensity to saving, whatever things, it's really matter if you have Ricardian's household, how to say, I don't know, those who can transfer.
Our time is running very good, so okay, last question please.
I would to ask if we can see the situation when filling this form with different answers to different cities, means that I have to admit that I have certain thoughts and point of view on trust to different cities. And it's not only being honest with myself, but also with you who is the experiment. So can we see if there are any situation when, how to say, Well, it requires some courage to admit that you have certain thoughts on certain cities and certain people from parts of the country.
It's just to talk about cross effects. We discussed it before, and some people may suppose that you think that they're racist because the attitude depends on the city of the country.
Okay, guys.
It's just cross effects.
Okay, guys. I'm not saying that this is a perfect measure. Okay. Any measure, basically no measure is perfect. All measures are wrong in one way or another. The way we have, I can say that why we have chosen this particular design is because we wanted it to be maximally neutral within our reach. Right? So we did not tell you that okay, a person like you are playing is Chinese or Jewish or Dagestani or whatever else.
He may be more rigorous to women than to men.
Or female, or pleasant-looking female, or ugly-looking male, or whatever, or unemployed male, or whatever else. No. Because all these things can also bias your decisions, right? Your attitude, okay, so basically the idea is clear, right? All details, specificics of a particular person, right? Say portray a particular person. It's going to bias your choice. There are a lot of evidence saying that, for instance, pretty-looking young women receive much more generosity and courtesy than ugly-looking unemployed not male. This is pretty clear. So we don't want people to mess with all these things. Think of an arbitrary person from city N. What do you do to this person?
But characteristics.
I have to stop right now.
Я разбудила людей, по крайней мере. Я выполнила свою функцию.
Окей. We can talk about this no question. So basically we do this. So we also elicit their expectations about decisions of other person. How much do you expect? So if you are player A, so the first player sender, how much do you expect player B to return to you in case you give him the money from that city? And this is rewarded according to non-linear reward scheme based on precision estimates. If you are player B, then you are asked to estimate will player A from the city give you the money or not, again rewarded for correct estimation. I'm not asking the details here. Now on the answer. So we have 22, I'm still also over. So we have 22 cities from 21 regions. One of them was, two cities come from Krasnodar, Krasnodarский край, because we had Krasnodar and we had Sochi, separate places. And the cities themselves are actually, here they are in the list, roughly arranged from west to east. So Leningrad is here, Vladivostok is here. Yes, we had Makhachkala, we had Sochi, Krasnodar here, we had Moscow, St. Petersburg, from Archangельsk in the north, Makhachkala is in the south, Leningrad is in the east, Vladivostok is in the west, Vladivostok in the east. So all this line. Roughly you can read this west to east. Roughly, because of course there is also north and south. And this is what we found. So the red dots are mean trust levels across cities. Actually, yes, larger standard errors correspond to places when they had less observations. Altogether here, as you done, there is about 3,000 observations and 35,000 decisions. And it was of course it was all played for real money. The cost of the experiment was about $1.5 million. Just roughly, even estimate. Yeah. And so what you see on average here, there is background statistics is here at the top. And we had 58% of trust. Behavioral trust, of course, is much larger than the 22%, which is predicted by the model result. Much larger. And you see it's more or less robust across cities. The largest trust was actually from Makhachkala, 67%. Lowest was, I think, Kaliningrad, the Sochi had around 49 something, 50 was in Arkhangelsk and in Khabarovsk, the rest was higher than that. So you see that the mean, the variance of the means is not very large. Over half the subjects have trust. Trustworthiness is the mean share of return. Share, of course, normalized from 0 to 30, right? And the mean trustworthiness was 43%. 43 is less than one half, less than 15, less than 50, something like around 13.5. 13.5 tokens out of 30 were returned. You see the result of some variance here in returns. Lowest return is in Sochi, actually in this case, around 33%, but this, actually less than that, around 30%. That was the only city actually, yes. Omsk was next to them. This is the only city where trust is on average not worth. Right? Not worth means that you gave back 10 tokens, you receive back less than 10 expectations. Right? At the moment, it's something like 30 or 29, I don't remember exactly. In Omsk, around 33 already, right? Everywhere else, trust was worthy up to the, I think it was some places like, what's it called? This is Perm, this is Vladivostok, actually. This is Perm and Vladivostok. That's almost 50%.
Вообще получается, что где-то в 8 населенных пунктах вообще мы не можем разделить статистические респондерсы и сендерс там.
Нет, это очень мало что значит, что это доли тех, кто доверяет, это возвраты.
Получается, что они в рамках одного рынка.
Ну, да, бывают города в России, где реально дележки все 50-50. Но это же не дележки 50-50. Если не первый у нас бинарно, далее-то нет. Да? Первый у нас, я думаю, что это
стандартные ошибки.
Это сложно, мне кажется, это сложно интерпретировать именно в этих критериях.
Да, зачем стандартные ошибки рисовать, если они у них не интерпретируют?
Просто два графика, два отдельных графика для одного вида. Чтобы график надо поесть. Это два разных графика.
Иначе встает вопрос, что вы не можете респонды тех других разделить, что они такие же.
Нет, если мы считаем, что
они же случайные.
У нас половина людей нас доверяет, половина оправдывает доверие, если так это прочесть. Мы можем посмотреть на это. Но идея в том, что у вторых, да? 33. Да, 33, конечно. 33 года.
Видишь, пересек, вот смотри, на Калининград.
Оль, сейчас не в этом правда. Суть в том, что return of these respondents is on average higher than 1/3. In a trust, on average is worth. Is worth trust. On average. And actually, if you compare this to the worldwide data, this is a meta study from Johnson & Smith in 2011. Around 25,000 people here behind the trust decisions are here. And their distribution of trust is percent fraction. And our data is here. Right? So it's higher than average. And from the return here. Again, trust, again, returns in Russia are higher than average, than world average. So in this measure, according to this measure, actually, our on average, Russians, in this sample at least, Russians' trust and trustworthiness are even higher than the world averages. So they are better than the mean person from the world. Than the mean person from the world. The social ties and connections are actually working on that level. Right? Okay, I think I have to actually stop here because I think that this is the talk to Marina, right? I'm already out of our time. I have quite some more stuff I wanted to speak, but I had many questions and I hope I tried to answer them to the rate of this I was trusting the audience that the question will be useful and relevant, and actually some of them were actually quite important. Some. Not all, some. So, yes, guys, actually, I probably will post the slides if you want. If you have questions to them, please come back to me and I'll answer. Let me stop here.